85 before falling to Colorado School of Mines, 61-56. Both of those teams went to the NCAA tournament last year. So the Rattlers, despite their 0-2 record, look like they might be a very tough foe for the Javelinas tonight. And for Temuque, in its home opener, looking to open the home schedule with a victory for the second consecutive year after Temuque knocked off Chadron State in their opener last season. And now St. Mary's out onto the floor as the tip-off for this one is just moments away. The starters for St. Mary's: Caleb Jordan, Marquez Houston, and Skylar Brooks, along with Dimitri Peterson, are the guards. The lone forward in the lineup is Peter Radjicic. For the Javelinas, starting at the guard spots, Alex Mills will run the point, a 6'1" senior from Lawrence, South Carolina. Also at guard, Rashawn Thomas, a 6-foot-tall junior from Houston, Texas, and a 6'2" senior guard from Delray, Florida, Jacoby Harris. The forward position is occupied by Kyron Block, a 6'6" redshirt junior forward from San Antonio, and Robert Stevenson, a 6'7" senior forward from Houston, Texas. And we are just about ready to go. Stevenson wins the tip against Peterson, and we're underway as Thomas gives it to Block. Coach Johnny Estelle likes to see his team move fast. This was an issue. This was something that they tried a lot last year, but had their issues on offense. Thomas near side for Mills. Thomas will put up a triple, and that's an air ball. Possession to St. Mary's. Coach Estelle, in his 5th season leading this program, a record of 50-62, took this team to the NCAA tournament a couple seasons ago. They won their first ever NCAA tournament game, upsetting UT Permian Basin. Near side for Houston, taken away by the Javelinas. Thomas wants to charge in, dishes in for Block. Free throw line for Stevenson. Mills will try a triple. No good. Rebound tipped around. Harris fighting for it, but it's taken by Caleb Jordan. Jordan heads right in on Stevenson. Shot no good, out of bounds. Good defense by Stevenson, went straight up. So the referee could not call a foul. St. Mary's about 26 on the shot clock. Into Radjicic. Brooks. Jordan. The corner for Houston, guarded by Alex Mills. Brooks. Radjicic trying to back down. Stevenson, hook shot off the iron. Stevenson gets up for the board. And now it's on Rashawn Thomas. So looking for our first points of this game, 75 seconds in. Block to Harris. This Temuque team lost its entire starting lineup to graduation with some change. But a starting lineup for today that includes 2 new players. 5 on the shot clock as Thomas drives in, pull up for a fadeaway jump shot, no good, and boarded by Peterson. St. Mary's went 7-21 last season. They were just 3-13 in the Heartland Conference. They did not make it into the Heartland Conference postseason tournament. Houston working on Mills. Peterson. Radjicic wants it inside. Instead, Jordan. Now Radjicic gets it on Stevenson again. The forward trying to stand his ground. Good move by Radjicic, and a foul forced by St. Mary's. And they get Thomas for the first foul of the evening. Radjicic, 50% from the charity stripe so far on this young season. And the first one rattles home. Radjicic was one of the leading scorers last season when these teams played for the second time in Kingsville as he hit the second free throw. These teams have met twice every year for the last 5 seasons. And the series is even in that time. Stevenson for Harris. And there's the first bucket from the floor this evening. We're even at 2. Dubuque trying to trap Jordan in the back court. Gets it across to Peterson, heads right in on Stevenson to Radjic for the easy layup. Good awareness by Peterson, realizing he had a defender in a 2-on-1 situation. Left side, Harris. Thomas for Harris again. Harris to the free throw line now for Block. Block driving in on Peterson, layup over Radjic, goes through. And Kyron Block is on the board. We're even at 4. Houston wide open for a 3, no good. The rebound bounces out to the forward Radjic, and now Jordan will restart the offense with a fresh shot clock. And a whole host of Javelinas preparing to check in. Jordan, Peterson in the corner, Brooks. Airballs a triple. Radjic tries to save it and throws it out to Jordan. Over the outstretched reach of Thomas. Peterson, Radjic, Stevenson tries to get in but can't block the shot. And it's 6-4 Rattlers. Into the corner for Mills. Harris with the pick by Stevenson left. Thomas will try a 3. That one won't go. Block fights for the board. It almost comes out of the hands of Brooks, but he corrals it. Jordan giving it up to Marquez Houston. The junior from Houston had 26 points in the Rattlers' season opening loss against Regis. Peterson on block. Some help from Stevenson, but a travel will turn it over. And now Mickens, Mouton, Thomas, Severo, and Shire will all check in for the Javelinas. And that will be the first media timeout of the evening. 15:50 to go in the first half. The score 6-4 St. Mary's. Will be right back on the Javelina Sports Network. (6-4) our score with 4 minutes and 10 seconds gone in the first half of play. Mentioned these teams have played twice a year for the last 5 seasons. The first year St. Mary's swept that series. In 2016-17 it was the Javelinas who won twice. Every other year it has been a split. And each team won on the road last season as Chauncey Thomas brings up. Thomas had a time for a team high 9 points in Timucu's victory over Chadron State. Mickens with a walk, and that'll turn it over. St. Mary's with 7 rebounds so far in this game, just 1 for the Javelinas to this point. Timucu with the full court press. Good defense by Shire. Pass deflected by Thomas, and it comes to Darius Mickens. The full court press forcing a turnover. And Dylan Eisenhower is checked in for St. Mary's. Top of the key, Severo gets the defender in the air. Corner, 3 for Mouton. No good, Severo fighting for the board. Instead it's taken by Lamont Trailer. Eisenhower, Radjic. Severo giving him a wide berth at the top of the key. Shire with a deflection, and it comes to Severo. Good defense by Shire so far tonight. In a quick appearance and a bucket for Chauncey Thomas. And we're all tied at 6. And another turnover for the Javelinas as Gaspert checks in for St. Mary's. And Radjic receiving an earful from head coach Jim Zalesnak. Timucu with a chance to take the lead for the first time tonight. Shire from Mouton. Mickens. Mickens, one of the freshmen on this squad. Him and Shire both on the court at the same time, both first-year players. Still not afraid to throw his players into the fire quickly. Thomas with 5 to shoot. Driving with for a floater that would not cooperate. And now Caleb Jordan setting up to run the offense. Eisenhower. Top of the key for Houston. Mouton playing tight defense. This fresh set for the Javelinas, fresh lineup. Playing some tenacious defense. Mouton with a steal, but it's waved off because of a foul. A little too physical in going for the takeaway. And Mouton picks up his first. Obviously not a shooting foul, but that will push the shot clock back to 20 seconds. 2 fouls for the Hogs, nothing for St. Mary's so far. A pretty clean start to this game. Jordan, freshman guard from Midlothian, Texas, has started both games in his freshman season for the Rattlers. Actually make that all 3 when you factor in tonight. Gaspard pass deflected by Shire, comes to Mouton in the middle of 3 defenders, decides to hit to the trailer. Severo, who can't get the shot to go, gets it right back, goes up, loses it. Probably looking for a foul, but there was no call. Smook maybe a little bit too quick to go after that opportunity. Jordan trying to drive, lost the handle. Thomas guarding him closely. Pass right to Mickens, ahead to Thomas, to Mouton, who lays it in. Javelinas ahead, 8-6. And St. Mary's a little bit flustered by this tight defense. Wholesale changes for the Hogs at the 15-50 mark, and it has paid dividends, especially on the defensive end. And now Kyron Block prepares to check in, or I should say Elton Dyer and Jamel Bradley. Caleb Jordan. Mickens on the left side, 3-pointer. No good. Rebound comes to Mouton. Wants to start the break. Driving on Jordan. And a foul called on St. Mary's. That'll be on Caleb Jordan. That's the first one on the Rattlers in this half. Radjic checks in. Dyer and Bradley come in for the first time as Mouton and Shire go out. A productive cameo for Shire. Shire with 2 steals in 3 minutes. 12:44 to play. Shot clock at 26. And they called another foul on Jordan. That's 2 fouls in, I don't know, what would you say, 1 second? And McCullough will replace Caleb Jordan. And now Thomas inbounding into the corner. Mickens, Severo. Up top for Thomas. The junior transfer taking his time at the top of the key. Gets a pick. Drives left. Pick from Bradley. Bradley gets it back. 8 to shoot. Mickens driving in. Right-handed layup off the backboard and in. 2 for Darius Mickens. Eisenhower in for Radjic. Shot no good, and they call an offensive foul. And Radjic incredulous at the call, but that's 1 on him. Thomas with Temuka up 10-6. Up top for Severo. Dyer comes to get it. Jamel Bradley, he'll try a tray. That one won't go. Severo up high for the board. Right back up strong for the bucket. And that is an 8-0 run for the Javelinas. St. Mary's trying to get back on track, and Marquez Houston trying to start something on offense. Drives in, and a whistle and a foul on the Javelinas. At the 11:36 mark, that should lead us to our second media timeout as the foul goes on Elton Dyer. 3 fouls on each side so far. That will take us to a media timeout. We'll be right back. This is the Javelina Sports Network. Rattlers set to inbound, and it will be Houston tossing it in to Gaspert. Defended by Severo. Turn around for a jump shot, would not go. Rebound comes to Danielle Severo. Thomas fires into the corner. Dyer thought about a three, but kicks it back out to Thomas. Thomas, Severo, Bradley, Dyer, and Mickens on the floor for Tamuk. Thomas drives in, has the layup attempt blocked, but Tamuk retains possession with 16 to shoot. Thomas looking for an open man, tosses it out beyond half court, and Mickens takes it there. Thomas comes to get it to set up the offense. Tamuk ahead by 6. 8 straight points for the Hogs. Bradley with 6 to shoot. Mickens will try a long contested three that never had a chance, but a foul is called. That'll be the first one on Nika McCullough. And this will be 3 shots for Mickens. And first one is good. And Jacoby Harris are ready to check in for Tamuk. Second free throw, no good. Harris in, Robert Stevenson in as well. And Severo goes out. Now Shire comes in for Bradley, and Elton Dyer will go to the bench as well. So Shire, Stevenson, Harris, Mills, and Mickens on the floor. And now Gaspert and Eisenhower go out. So for St. Mary's, you have Houston, Brooks, Peterson, McCullough, third free throw, no good, and Radjicic on the floor, who then falls. Radjicic picks himself up and heads back down the court. Houston on the left side. Radjicic, McCullough. Guarded by Thomas. Throws it into the corner. Houston trying to drive on Harris. Turnaround jump shot, good. Good defense by Harris, but shot found the mark anyway. Tamuk ahead quickly. Mickens, Thomas, Stevenson, Jacoby Harris being guarded by the junior from Houston, Marquez Houston. Shire hits a pick for Thomas, gets it left side, will try an open three. No good. Boarded by Peterson. St. Mary's, that last bucket breaking what had been a 9-0 run for the Javelinas. Long three, Houston. Up high for the board as Peterson had it, but Stevenson knocked it out of his hands. Now Harris with it. Goes straight in for the layup, no good, but a foul. And if that is on Radjicic, that's 2 on him. And that's 5 against St. Mary's. And subs for both teams getting ready to check in. Harris to shoot 2. Jamook entered this game just under 70% from the line. Free throw rattles home. Gaspert in for Radjic. 2 players for St. Mary's now with 2 fouls. Jordan is the other. And Rashawn Thomas also comes in. And Harris can't get the second one to go, but the Jamook lead is 6 points. McCullough for Houston. Setting a pick is Gaspert. Now Peterson. Trying to get it into Gaspert, but I believe a foul is going to get called on Robert Stevenson. That's 4 on the Javelinas. Well, just 1 on Stevenson. 4 fouls to 4 different players for the Hogs. And Kyron Block comes in for Stevenson. And Stevenson seems to be reminding the coaches, hey, I only have 1 foul. Inbounded, perfectly executed play to Gaspert. An easy 2 points. And St. Mary's has scored 4 straight. Now within 4. Thomas waving away Shar. Now Shar hits a pick. Thomas goes in underneath for a block, who has it blocked, but it's out of bounds off of the Rattlers. Jamook maintains possession halfway through the shot clock. Javelina shooting 35% so far in this one, 36% for St. Mary's. Neither team has hit a 3. They're combined over 10. Thomas throws it out to Harris, but defended perfectly. And now we get a whistle out of bounds by St. Mary's. And that essentially became a jump ball, almost like a quarterback throwing a fader out to a receiver in the end zone, as Brooks and Thomas fought for the ball. Jamook lucky to maintain possession. And Rashawn Thomas comes to get the inbound from Kyron Block. Thomas into the middle, dribbling out of the corner, 2 to shoot, puts up a contested 3, no good. No shot clock violation, but rebounded by St. Mary's anyway. Rattlers led in the early stages of this game. They're up 6-4. Jamook with a run. Now St. Mary's trying to get back in front. A 3 from the corner. McCullough too strong. Peterson tries for the rebound, but knocks it out of bounds. Javelina basketball. 13 rebounds to 8. St. Mary's currently leads in that category, but the Rattlers have also turned it over 8 times. They're -6 in that category. And now we get a foul on the inside. And that'll be 2 on McCullough. And 1 more foul will put the Javelinas at the free throw line. 3rd different player with 2 fouls. And Dylan Eisenhower quickly re-enters. So Coach Zelesnik having to delve into his depth early in this one. Ball flipped out to the top of the key for Block. Harris back to Kyron Block, and Alex Mills will come and get it. Transfer from NC Central, who also went to McLennan Community College. Him and a pair of his teammates, Stevenson and Severo as well. 8 to shoot for Jamook. Shire to Thomas, wants to drive, lost the handle. It comes to Gaspert. Houston racing ahead into the corner. Brooks drives in for a layup. And Coach Johnny Estelle wants a timeout. 6 points in a row for St. Mary's. And we'll take a quick break here on the Javelina Sports Network. 8:03 to go in the first half. 14-12 Javelinas. Javelina basketball after the timeout by Coach Estelle. And Tumuk almost got caught with too many men on the court as John Mouton went out when there were already 5 players on the floor. But as it is, the 5 of Thomas, Mills, Bradley, Severo, and Harris on the floor. Mills left side thought about a jumper. Instead, Jamel Bradley with it. Jacoby Harris up top. Thomas, Severo, 8 to shoot. St. Mary's making Tumuk use a lot of the shot clock. Up and under layup by Harris. Never really had a chance. Rebound comes to Eisenhower. St. Mary's a chance to tie or take the lead. Houston charging in. Layup good and a foul. Alex Mills maybe a little bit too ambitious trying to race in and draw the foul. Houston with 4 points. Mills and Thomas go to the bench. Houston can't complete the three-point play. It means we're tied at 14. Chauncey Thomas, Jacoby Harris. Severo. Thinking about backing out his man. Pass outside, knocked out of bounds by Eisenhower. And 8 straight points for St. Mary's to even this game up. Javelina's now trying to get their offense back into a rhythm. Chauncey Thomas to Severo will put up a triple. That one won't go. We're still looking for our first made 3 tonight in 12 attempts. 7 minutes before halftime. Houston has it taken away by Mouton. A 2-on-1. Mouton to Harris. Instead gets it out. Mouton will try a 3. Won't go. And a whistle will give the ball to St. Mary's. Darius Mickens in for Jacoby Harris. Coach Estelle not afraid to use a large portion of what is a very large bench. Pass taken away by Thomas, but he can't keep it in bounds. Oh, but it's out off St. Mary's. Smart play by Chauncey Thomas. Thomas, who transferred from Redlands Junior College. Tumuk trying to regain the lead. They've been up by as many as 8. Bradley. And Mouton has the jumper blocked by Eisenhower. St. Mary's back in possession. Houston to the front court. Far side, Brooks. Peterson asking for it inside as Gasper doesn't get it. Pass for a cutting Houston. Severo blocks the shot. Thomas ahead. Mouton drives in. Shot no good, but he will go to the free throw line. And that's one on Dimitri Patterson. Javelina's earned the bonus now. St. Mary's with 7 fouls. But this obviously will be a 2-shot shooting foul. Mouton at 50% on the season. Hits the first free throw. Gaspert out, and Lamont Traylor comes back in. And Mouton will bump that free throw percentage up a little bit. He has 4 points. That's the most on the Javelina. Severo out in favor of Stevenson. Traylor. Eisenhower asking for a little bit of help. Pass for Peterson ahead. Brooks driving in on Stevenson. Left for Traylor. Lays it up and in. And we are back even at 16. Thomas for Bradley. Bradley trying to work on Brooks. Turnaround jump shot too short. trying to rip the rebound away is Mouton, but called for a foul. And the good news for the Javelin is that was only their 6th foul. That is 2 on Mouton. But that does not result in shots. And Elton Dyer quickly off the bench to replace Mouton, the first Javelina with 2 fouls. 13 turnovers tonight so far, 10 for St. Mary's, just 3 for the Hogs. Houston guarded closely by Thomas. Pass right to Dyer. Thomas asking for it back. Dyer will take it himself, way too strong on the layup. Brooks with the rebound. Dyer just too ambitious right there. Houston near side. Eisenhower drives past the leaping Stevenson. Floater doesn't go. Trailer can't tip it in. Ball gets knocked around. Comes to Eisenhower. Out of bounds off of St. Mary's. And we are even at 16. Still. And we have had just about a minute since our last basket. Dyer, Mickens to the point guard Thomas. St. Mary's setting up their zone defense. Thomas drives in. Mickens, corner. Dyer for 3. No good. Bradley up high for the rebound. And he'll get called for the over the back. That, I believe, will put St. Mary's at the line for a 1-on-1. Or actually check that one goes against St. Mary's. Bradley reacted like it was on him, but nope. That's the first one on Houston. And Chauncey Thomas, a quick discussion with Coach Estelle. Front end of the 1-on-1 is good. Always the most important end of the 1-on-1. Bradley, who transferred from Texas A&M Corpus Christi. And the free throw no good, but St. Mary's loses it out of bounds. Tamuk get the ball back. Bradley came here to play with his brother Dom, who's a redshirt junior on this squad. And they played against each other last year in an exhibition when the Javelinas beat Corpus Christi in Corpus. Thomas up top for Jamel Bradley, and Thomas comes to get it back. Obviously a brand new shot clock after the free throw lost out of bounds. Thomas sending Dyer to his left. Trying to drive through. Trailer now gives it to Bradley. Mickens. Looking for our first three-pointer of the night. Dyer drives, runs into Trailer. A loose ball comes to Peterson. With Dyer trying to trace him down. Layup blocked by Stevenson, and he keeps it in bounds. Great play by Robert Stevenson. One of the best defenders in the Lone Star Conference. Thomas drives right in, and an offensive foul. And there's the 7th foul of the half against the Javelinas. Shire in, Bradley out. Twelve different players have seen the floor for Tamuk this evening. Eisenhower to Brooks, Houston. This lineup for St. Mary's a little bit longer than that of the Javelinas. Thomas knocks it out of bounds. You've got Houston and Peterson listed at 6'4". Eisenhower is 6'6". Brooks is also 6'4", and Trailer at 6'6". And that takes us to another another media timeout. 3:54 to go in the first half. 17-16 Javelinas. This is the Javelinas Sports Network. So the final media timeout of the half is in the books. Hogs leading by a point, and the junior Houston to inbound it. Eisenhower in the backcourt to take the inbound pass and gives it right back to his teammate. Chauncey Thomas playing defense gets picked up by Trailer Stevenson in for a block, and an offensive foul is called. And Tamuk really doing a good job on defense, forcing turnovers. That goes in the books as number 13. And for Houston, that's 2 on him. St. Mary's up to 9. Thomas to Shire. Mickens. And we get a foul on the inside on St. Mary's. That, I believe, will be 2 shots. And I think this will go on Lamont Trailer. That's 1 on him. 4 different players with 2 fouls for St. Mary's. Here is Stevenson. Dubuque trying to build on a 1-point lead. First foul shot is up and good. Stevenson, I mentioned, one of the best defenders in this conference, was named to the LSC All-Defensive Team last year. Only averaged 5.3 points a game, but the Hogs hoping he could take on more of a scoring role this season. Free throws is probably the area he struggled on most, just 21 of 48. That's 44% from the charity stripe last year. This year he's at 50% so far. Team ahead by 2. Backdoor pass to Brooks, who dunks it. Great cut to the basket and good awareness. And we're even at 18. 3 minutes to go before we hit halftime. Dyer, Shire, Mickens. Dyer back to Thomas, 11 to shoot for the Javelinas. Stevenson sets a pick. Thomas up for a jump shot, might have been affected by his own man, Stevenson, and an air ball. St. Mary's moving back into the front court. Eisenhower has it taken away by Dyer. Dyer, left won't go. Trailer is Shire, who lays it up and in. Shire, Johnny on the spot. His first 2 points tonight. It's a 2-point game. Javelinas back in front. Pass for Peterson. Shire playing defense. Houston. Pass right through the hands of Trailer. Ball to Tamuk. Jacoby Harris and Rashawn Thomas come in. Dyer and Chauncey Thomas go to the bench, and Coach Jim Zalesnik probably pulling his hair out right now. His team has committed 15 turnovers here in the first half. We still have 2 minutes to play. Harris with 3 points to his credit. Left side, Mickens. Coach Estelle, again, not afraid to mix and match starters with bench players. Stevenson threw the pass through the arms of Shire, out of bounds off of the Javelinas. Shire was open on the left block, but the pass and him just a little bit off base. Peterson for Eisenhower. Peterson back to Eisenhower, who just crosses half court in the nick of time. Houston. Houston with 4 points to his credit tonight. Guarded closely by Thomas, 7 to shoot. Drives right past him, shot blocked by Stevenson, but a foul is called. I didn't see a lick of contact, but that's 2 on Stevenson. And that's number 8 on the Javelina shooting foul. That'll be 2 free throws. That looked like a pretty clean block by the senior from Houston, but the referee disagreed. Free throw good. Severo in for Stevenson after he just picked up his second. 89 seconds until the half. Trailer goes out for St. Mary's. Gaspard comes back in. We are even at 20. Mickens wanted to get into Severo, instead Harris, and Harris gets it right back to Mickens. Severo comes out to set a pick. Near side, Thomas. Mickens again. Tamuk trying to penetrate. St. Mary's has generally done a good job on the inside. Severo out to Harris, driving in with 6. Left corner for Mickens with 3. Gets it to Severo. Layup no good. Now Eisenhower with it. We still have not had a made 3 here in the first half. Eisenhower's shot deflected out of bounds by Mickens. And with the shot clock half over, we'll have an inbound pass. Credit to this Javelina defense. They have been tenacious in the first half. Houston gets a pick by Gaspert Peterson. Eisenhower. Pass bobbled by Gaspert. Misses the shot, gets his own rebound, and then has it taken away. Shot clock is turned off. Ahead to Thomas. Layup good. He is on the score sheet. Now St. Mary's can hold for the last shot. And the referee calling the timeout on St. Mary's. St. Mary's saying no, there was a foul called prior to the timeout. But the referee saying, nope, you guys called your timeout. There is no foul. And the Rattlers bench is not too pleased with that call. But as it is with 14.4 seconds to go before the half, they will have to inbound it, trying to tie this game up at 22 or possibly take a lead. These teams 0 of 15 from beyond the arc so far. St. Mary's shooting at a higher percentage. They're at rebounding the Javelinas, but the difference in turnovers really has been what has allowed the Javelinas to stay in this game and take the lead that they currently hold. And Marquez Houston getting ready to inbound it as the coaching staff for the Rattlers still upset about that foul timeout situation. Houston, Eisenhower, Brooks, Gaspert, and Peterson on the floor against Thomas, Mickens, Harris, Severo, Shire. And then a hand check foul called at the 3.5 second mark. That'll go on Houston. That is 3 on him. And the St. Mary's coach incredulous at a decision by his player. And now there are 6 players on the floor, and finally Houston realizes he was being taken out. 3.5 seconds to shoot. Thomas gets it, races past his man. Gets it up at the buzzer, no good. Floater wouldn't go, but as it is, Tamuk will take a lead in the locker room. The score, the Javelinas 22 and St. Mary's 20. We'll take a quick break. This is the Javelina Sports Network. We'll come back and go over everything that happened in the first 20 minutes here from the Steinke Physical Education Center. This is Texas A&M Kingsville basketball on the Javelina Sports Network. Halftime at the Steinke Physical Education Center, and the Javelinas leading the St. Mary's Rattlers by a score of 22-20. And St. Mary's with an edge in multiple categories. Through 1.5 of play, they're out shooting the Javelinas 38% to 25%, but Temuque, and they're also out rebounding the Hogs 24-14, but Temuque with an edge as far as free throws attempted. 11, they've taken 11 foul shots, just 5 for St. Mary's, and the big difference is turnovers. Temuque has forced 17 turnovers. They have 10 steals, and they have given the ball away just 6 times through the first half of play. And no player for Temuque has more than 4 points. But 10 different players have scored for Coach Johnny Estelle. The leaders in this game are Houston and Radjic for St. Mary's. They both have 6. But for Temuque, 8 different players have hit at least 1 shot from the floor. No player ever has hit more than 1. Mouton has 4 points because of 1 bucket and a pair of foul shots. So the Javelinas is spreading it around, and that was really their MO in that victory they had on Saturday against Chadron State. 12 different players scored. No one had more than 9 points. And in talking to one of their graduate assistants, Matt Press, he said, yeah, it's a thing of beauty. Basketball, kind of the way it should be played, with everyone contributing. That's exactly what Coach Estelle wants. He plays so many different players because he has faith in their ability to execute the way he wants them to. When you have every player contributing to this team, every guy kind of pulling his weight, that gives you exactly the kind of results that Coach Estelle hopes to see on the floor. Getting contributions from the inside and from the outside and from guys drawing fouls, getting to the free throw line is exactly the kind of results that Coach Estelle hopes to see with this team. And that's one of the reasons they found themselves ahead 22-20 after 1.5 of play. And for Temuque, their defense really started hitting on all cylinders with about 5 minutes gone in this game. They subbed out their entire starting lineup, brought in 5 new players, and the defensive intensity really ratcheted up for this team. You have 6 different players with at least 1 steal. Darius Mickens has 3. Will Shire has 2. And then Stevenson, Mouton, and Chauncey Thomas each have 1. And that would have to be one of the things you would think that Coach Jim Zalesnak would be preaching to his team at halftime, was he needed to be more, not be so careless with the basketball. There have been just too many times when they've made a careless pass or really just not looked at the person they were trying to get the basketball to, and that has allowed the Javelinas to grab a whole mess of steals through the first 20 minutes. Foul trouble in this game. St. Mary's dealing with it a little bit more than the Javelinas. 2 players with a couple fouls for the Javelinas. Stevenson has 2, as does John Mouton. But St. Mary's was over the limit by the end of the first half, and the biggest blow to them was Marquez Houston's hand check foul with less than 5 seconds to play before we hit halftime. That was his 3rd foul, and now you wonder how much Coach Zalesnak is going to be limited in using Houston in the second half. Do you start the second half with him, see if you can sneak in a few minutes without him drawing that 4th foul, and then sit him down for a while before you bring him back once we get close to crunch time? Because Houston was the only player who played all 20 minutes for St. Mary's. He did not leave the court until those final 3.5 seconds of the half, after we picked up his 3rd foul. And that's the decision you make when you're the head coach. You have a guy like Houston who's a junior, who's been on this team for 2 years, and who you look at as one of the veterans on your team. You trust them in that kind of a situation to say, okay, you're playing with 2 fouls. You're going to be careful and not pick up your 3rd, because obviously we need to have you in the second half. We can't have one of our top players in foul trouble, but Houston betraying his coach's trust just a little bit with that foul at the end of the half, and Zalesnak was more than a little bit unhappy when that call got made. And to his credit, he did not complain one bit to the officials. He was upset with his player for drawing that foul. And Houston now with 3 fouls. Obviously, we expect him to be limited in the second half, but we'll have to see just how much. Now there are 3 other players who have 2 fouls. Caleb Jordan has 2, as does Peter Radjicic, and Nika McCullough has 2 as well. But Jordan and Radjicic definitely will be interesting. They both started this game, but only played 8 minutes in the first half because of that foul trouble. Jordan picked up 2 fouls in the blink of an eye at one point. He didn't have a foul through the first about 8 minutes, picked up 1 foul, and then on the inbounds pass after that foul, got called for a second one. And he didn't see the floor after that in the first half. So I think if you had to pick just 2 things for Zalesnak to preach to his team in the second half, it would have to be careful with your fouls, don't give away any silly whistles, and also be careful with the basketball. Because as I mentioned, St. Mary's has shot better than the Javelinas. They've out-rebounded their opponents by 10. But the Rattlers, because of their turnovers as well as the fouls they've given away, that's part of the reason why the Hogs lead this game. They've hit 6 free throws, only 4 for St. Mary's. And the foul trouble as well as the turnovers have really been the 2 things that have given Temuque an edge over the course of the first half of play. We're going to take one more break. This is the Javelina Sports Network. It is halftime at the Spec. Temuque leading this one 22-20. We'll be right back with the second half of play from the Spec. Right after this, don't go away. Both teams back on the floor as the second half of play is about to get started. Temuque with a 22-20 lead after one half. And for the Javelinas, I'd expect them to continue operating with the defensive intensity we saw in the first half when they grabbed 10 steals. And I'd also expect them to keep spreading the ball around and using the depth that Coach Estelle has seen from his squad so far. When 10 different players scored. Only 3 players have more than 2 points, and as I said before, there's not a single Javelina who has made more than 1 shot from the floor. Mouton with 1 field goal and a pair of free throws is the leading scorer for Timuc with 4 points. Both teams looking for their first made triple of this game. St. Mary's 0 for 5, the Javelinas 0 for 10 from deep. And you get the feeling that one team is going to be able to find the range from three-point land in the second half. And whoever does will be in an excellent position to win this game once that final buzzer sounds. For St. Mary's, Houston and Radjicic with 6 points each. St. Mary's, though, will be trying to avoid foul trouble, trying to stay away from the turnovers that plagued them in the first half. And for Marquez Houston, one of the starting guards of this team, the question is how much is he going to play with those 3 fouls? Will he have to sit the bench for the majority of the half, or will Coach Zalesnak trust his junior guard to operate with those 3 fouls? He's going to have to trust him at some point, but how much leeway does Houston receive? And both teams huddled up, getting ready for these final 20 minutes of regulation, which are about to begin. Thank you for joining us on the Javelina Sports Network. A reminder that our next basketball broadcast will be our first home basketball doubleheader of the season a week from yesterday. That is next Tuesday, the 20th. The Javelina women and Javelina men will play Texas A&M International. And the tip-off for the first game of that doubleheader between the women's teams for both of those schools is scheduled to be at 5:30, and the men's game will start about half an hour after the women's game concludes. Javelina women beat Texas A&M International twice last season, and we're looking to continue that streak on Tuesday. Eisenhower inbounding it to Jordan. Radjicic, Peterson, and Brooks also on the floor against Rayshawn Thomas, Alex Mills, Stevenson, Harris, and Kyron Block. Pass into Radjicic over Stevenson, but Stevenson bodying him up. Ball rolls around and found its way through the twine. And Radjicic quickly back on the board. He's got 8 points. And we're even at 22. Mills wide open for a triple. Would not go. Stevenson up high, back up strong, and the ball deflected. It comes to Harris, who goes right back up. Layup and the foul. And there's 5 points for Jacoby Harris, and McCullough quickly in for Eisenhower. The Rattlers coaching staff was trying to get Eisenhower's attention in that last possession on defense. Free throw by Harris is good. He completes the 3-point play. He's now the team's leading scorer with 6 points. Kingsville ahead by 3. The largest lead for the Javelinas in this game is 7. McCullough to Jordan, left for Brooks. Skylar Brooks, a senior guard from Seguin, Texas. Pass almost got away from McCullough, but he keeps it in play. 3 seconds to shoot in to Radjicic. Has the ball stripped by Harris, but not in a legal fashion. That looked like a good call. So 1 on either team. For Harris, that is his first foul. free throw by Rajicic is up and good. He's 3 for 3 from the charity stripe tonight. Second one is good as well. He's the first player in double figures tonight. Hogs still lead by a point. Thomas and Javelinas turn it over. Peterson in for the uncontested jam. And that's the first St. Mary's lead since it was 6-4. And those are the kind of turnovers that the Javelinas were forcing in the first half. Dyer, Harris trying to cut to the basket, but Mills instead. 12 to shoot. Mills will try a three. There's the first triple of the night. And it belongs to Alex Mills, who puts the Javelinas back up by 2. I was going to say puts the blue and gold back up, but both teams are wearing blue and gold tonight. McCullough, Brooks thought about an open shot, but then thought better of it. Jordan back to Brooks. Rajicic trying to work on Stevenson. Backs him down to St. Mary's. Must really like that matchup. Jordan has it knocked away by Mills, but a foul is called. That's 2 on Mills, 2 on the Javelinas. And Chauncey Thomas preparing to check in. Free throw no good. Chauncey Thomas in for Rashawn Thomas. I have to say, as a broadcaster, really appreciate Coach Stell keeping the Thomases from being on the floor at the same time, because that's always tough when you have two guys with the same last name. Jordan's free throw is good. And we have a 1-point game for Jordan. That's his first point of the evening. Harris. Picked by Stevenson. Harris driving past Rajicic. In. Tries to dunk over Peterson. Does draw the foul. And that's 2 on Peterson. 2 on St. Mary's here in the half. Harris trying to build on a 1-point lead. Also trying to build on his team high total of 6 points. First one will not go. Harris 2 of 4 from the foul line tonight. Javelinas is looking for their second win of the year. St. Mary's for their first. Free throw good. McCullough inbounding it to Peterson. Jordan being guarded by Thomas, and Jordan and Thomas all alone up to the top of the zone, and a whistle and a foul called on Thomas. And a pained expression on Chauncey Thomas's face right there after picking up his second foul. Shot clock pushed back to 20 with 17:33 to go in the second half. Jordan out beyond half court, and McCullough gives it right back to him. Picked by Rajicic. Peterson. Jordan into Rajicic. Hook shot over Stevenson, no good. Up high for the board is blocked, and he draws a foul as well. And I was going to say, St. Mary's probably hoping that was on Brooks, who does not have a foul. That's the third on Peterson. Javelinas is ahead by 2. There has not been much separation in this game since the early part of the first half. Chinook led by 7. St. Mary's tied it with an 8-1 run. I don't think we've had more than 3 points between these two teams since then. Harris with a jumper. No good. Rebound comes off the iron, back out to Thomas, who throws it right to Peterson. Bad turnover by Thomas, and St. Mary's a chance to tie or take the lead. Peterson into Rajicic. We get a whistle. I believe this will be a foul against the Javelinas. Robert Stevenson, to say the least, is not pleased with the call, arguing his case. And now he'll head to the bench after picking up his third foul. Severo comes in, and so does Wilshire. That is 4 fouls on the Javelinas. Rajicic with the inbound pass. Jordan, corner, Brooks. No good. Thomas high for the rebound. Ball to the Javelinas. Mouton in. Mickens the same. Harris and Mills will go out with 16:30 to go. And looking at the replay of that foul call on Stevenson, there was no contact. Rajicic just fell on that play. Mickens has it taken away by McCullough. Back to Jordan. He'll try an open triple. Will not go. St. Mary's unable to find the mark from beyond the arc. They still trail by 2. Jordan almost lost his footing. Into the corner. McCullough runs over Thomas. Offensive foul. That's 3 on McCullough. St. Mary's with 4 here in the half. And the Rattlers are racking up some fouls, and that could certainly become an issue late in the game. 3 players now with 3 fouls. Peterson, Houston, who we have not seen yet in the second half, and McCollum. Mouton, Shire, in for Severo. Out for Thomas. Back to Severo. Good close-out defense by McCullough. Severo will try a jump shot that rattles home. 4 points for the native of Osasco, Brazil. Another transfer from McLennan Community College. Pass taken away by Mouton, but he couldn't keep the handle. Jordan has it near side McCullough. Up top, Brooks will try a 3. That one won't go. Rajicic right back up, no luck. Mickens has it taken away by Brooks. Jordan McCullough. And now back to Caleb Jordan. Smook with more than one chance for a steal, but the Rattlers keeping possession, 17 to shoot. Rajicic sets a pick, rolls to the basket. There's no one on him. Now Severo catches up. Brooks left open. He'll step back and try a 3. That one's good. Brooks with 7, and each team now with 1 made 3. And St. Mary's back to within 1. Mickens, Thomas for John Mouton. Severo wants it inside. Mouton couldn't find him. Shire a corner 3. That's too strong. An air ball right to Brooks. McCullough wanted ahead of the pack, but good defense took away that opportunity. Peterson drives in. Layup won't go. Rajicic fighting for the board with Mickens. And the ball to the Javelinas. And St. Mary's not pleased with the call, but with 14:16 to go, will arrive at a media timeout. 31-30 the score. Tamuk holding on to a slim edge. We'll be right back on the Javelina Sports Network. Chauncey Thomas will get the inbound from Shire. Severa, Mouton, and Mickens also on the floor. A 1-point game with 6 minutes gone here in the second half. Mickens driving an out corner. Mouton wide open. Can't hit the triple. Peterson the rebound. Jordan. Corner for Brooks. Radjic inside on Shire. Mickens offering some help. Radjic working on the freshman. Out to Jordan. Corner. And no three try for McCullough. Back to Jordan, 11 to shoot. Three from Brooks, nothing but net. He's hit his last two from beyond the arc. He's got 10 points. St. Mary's ahead for the first time since it was 6-4. Mickens, Thomas swings it to Mouton. Thought about getting it inside instead to Mickens in the wing. Mickens driving on Brooks. Brooks layup high and too strong off the backboard. Rolls off the rim. Jordan on the left side. McCullough now. Brooks who has the hot hand. McCullough will try his hand from deep. That one rolls around. No one from Temuque chases the rebound, but it comes to Thomas. Thomas right in for a wild fast break layup. Does draw the foul. And that'll be the third on Jordan. That's 5 against St. Mary's. Jamel Bradley, Alex Mills, Elton Dyer preparing to check in. First free throw by Thomas. He sinks it. And Radjic goes out, and now Marquez Houston re-enters. Mouton, Shire, Mickens go out. McCullough leaves for Houston. Second to two goes down. We are even at 33. And Thomas has 4 points. Skylar Brooks left to Marquez Houston. Back to Brooks. He'll try another one from deep. That one won't go, and tipping the rebound to himself was Jamel Bradley. Mills ahead to Severa. Underneath, gets his man in the air. Layup good and a foul. And Severa immediately points to Thomas, who found him in the crowd. And they call that on Peterson. That would be his fourth, but no, I thought I saw the referee put up 4-0. It was on Gaspert. And the Rattlers breathe a sigh of relief. 6 fouls against St. Mary's here in the half, against 4 for the Javelina. Severa to try and complete the 3-point play. Severa can't make it. Free throws have been kind of a bugaboo for Temuque over the last couple seasons. Jordan ahead quickly to Brooks, driving in on Mills. Now has to pass it back out. It rolls out of bounds off of the Javelinas. Chauncey Thomas convinced it was off of St. Mary's, but the ball will stay with the visitors. Now we get a whistle for a hold, and they'll get Elton Dyer for that. 2 on him, and now Temuque is up to 5. So both teams closing in on the bonus. Has inbounded quickly to Houston. 3 for Jordan is good. Jordan has 4 points. St. Mary's back ahead by 1. Into the corner, Mills left uncovered. Shot does not fall. And Jordan with a pass that sails right by Gaspert. Largest lead that St. Mary's has had is 2. But they lead by 1 right now, 11:54 to play. In regulation, we'll be right back on the Javelina Sports Network. This is Texas A&M Kingsville, Javelinas basketball. Temuque trailing by a point. Bradley giving it to Rashawn Thomas. Severo to Mills. Wanted to swing it to Dyer in the corner, instead back to Thomas. Bradley comes up to set a pick. Thomas trying to dribble through a double team, gets it to Dyer. Up top for Bradley, stolen by Jordan. And the ball laid up and in. Good job by Jordan. St. Mary's playing much more aggressively here in the second half. And they were in the turnover battle since we came out of the locker room. They've committed 3. The Javelinas are up to 5, and they now trail by 3, the Hogs do. Bradley tries to find a receiver, finds Mills. Mills with 3 points to his credit. To Bradley over Gaspert for the layup. Well done. Bradley has 3 points. It's a 1-point contest again. Jordan. Pick set by Gaspert, trying to roll to the rim. Jordan, a fadeaway jumper is good. And he is up to 9 points. And all 9 of those coming in the second half. Severo, Mills. Kingsville a 3-pointer away from a tie. Mills trying to drive, and a foul called on McCullough. And I believe that's McCullough's 4th, and it is. And Brooks summoned off the bench. And that, with that being the 7th foul against St. Mary's, a 1-1 coming for Alex Mills. Free throw, no good. Rebound, tipped, fighting for it is Severo, and now it's taken away from Gasper by Dyer. Thomas with both Severo and Bradley setting picks. Severo, Dyer comes to get it. Mills. Severo working on Gaspert. Has it knocked out of his hands. Keeps possession with 3 to shoot. Puts up a high 3. No good. Rebound, though, comes right to Mills. Up for an open jumper. That won't go. Dyer the rebound. Tries to pass it back out. Gets it to Mills. And Temuque will reset once again. Into Bradley right through his hands. Out of bounds off the Javelinas. And after all that work, the Hogs turn it over. And now St. Mary's looking for its largest lead of the evening. Robert Stevenson ready to return for the Hogs. Peterson tries to get it to Gasper. Now with it up, no good is Brooks. The ball comes to Peterson, who can't get it to go. Layup won't go again, and now Rashawn Thomas with it. Both teams with frustrating possessions on offense. Dyer gives it back to Thomas. Still a 3-point game after all that. Thomas driving in layup, good, and a foul. And they called it on Houston, and that's his 4th. And Dylan Eisenhower comes in. Mouton and Stevenson back for Temuque. Huge foul drawn there by Rashawn Thomas. And with the clock at 8:53, referees trying to sort something out as both teams sent to their benches. And this upcoming free throw, obviously by Thomas, could tie up the ball game. Temuque from the foul line tonight, just 10 of 18. And coming into this game, they were shooting just under 70%. But as I mentioned before, free throws have been something this team has had an issue with the last 2 years. They've been in the bottom half of the conference in that statistic. And obviously, just one of those problems if you're a head coach, it's really just tough to remedy. You can shoot free throws all you want, but And now the officials coming over to the scores table to try and sort out whatever discrepancy they're looking at. They might be going to the replay. And I believe that is exactly what's going to happen here with just under 9 minutes to play. Here in regulation, we have a 1-point basketball game. And St. Mary's coming out in the second half, I think you have to say they've played much better than they did in the first half. The turnover is not nearly as much of an issue. They've turned it over just twice while forcing, or check that, they've turned it over 4 times while forcing 6. And they've turned those 6 forced turnovers into 7 points. Now, as far as foul trouble, that's still a little bit of an issue. Marquez Houston just picked up his 4th foul. Nico McCullough also with 4. Dimitri Peterson has 3. So does Caleb Jordan. Now, obviously, you would still expect to see Houston in the game. Once we get down around the 5-minute mark, I would expect to see him re-enter. But I also expect to see the Javelinas stay aggressive as far as attempting to drive to the basket and draw those fouls once you see Houston and Jordan back in the game. And the officials appear to have reached a conclusion as to what they were looking at on the replay. I wonder if they were trying to decide if that really was Houston's foul. And now the officials going back to the replay to try and look at this one more time. This system just installed this year. And one of our student workers here at Tamook, Colby Sims, running that replay system tonight. Ready for every volleyball match as well. And the whatever issues they're trying to figure out, still needing some time to look it over. Tamuka has caught up a little bit in terms of shooting percentage. They were shooting 40% in the second half. St. Mary's at 38.9, which is just a little bit, just a skosh above where they shot in the first half. Both teams a little bit better from beyond the arc. St. Mary's is 3 of 8. Tamook just 1 of 6 for the game. The Javelinas just 1 of 16. Rebounds are even at 11. Either team has led by more than 4 points in the second half. Tamook with an edge in bench points, 8-0. But St. Mary's with 5 steals here in the second half. Javelinas just with 2 for the game. Turnovers still favor the Javelinas 21-12. And as far as steals, Tamook with 12, 8 for St. Mary's. And the referee still discussing, might be discussing whether or not something occurred during that last play that would result in some kind of a flagrant foul or a technical foul. But we'll finally get the call from the officials. All 3 of them have gathered at center court, as you can probably see on the live video stream, to resolve whatever came up. And thank you for tuning in to Javelina Basketball on the Javelina Sports Network. Again, the Hogs will be back at home on November 20th against Texas A&M International. It'll be a doubleheader, the women playing first and then the men second. And I think both coaches are getting an explanation right now as to what the issue was.
They're trying to see if there's a flagrant.
And confirmed, as you might have heard from our Assistant Director for Sports Information, Assistant Athletic Director for Sports Information, John Montoro. They're trying to see if there was a flagrant foul on that play. And there was a pick set by Alex Mills as Thomas was rolling to the basket. From my perspective, it looked clean. But Thomas will have at least one more free throw here to try and complete the three-point play. And we'll see what happens after that. Free throw good. So that evens it at least for the moment. And they call Daniel Severo for a flagrant 2. And that is going to be it for Severo this evening. So Jordan hits both free throws. And in comes Radjicic. And so now St. Mary's with a 2-point lead and the basketball. Now, so now at the 8:53 mark, St. Mary's with a 2-point lead and the ball. So Tamuk completes the 3-point play. Brooks to Eisenhower, back to Brooks on the near side. Driving in, runs over Stevenson. Shot was no good, or make that Bradley, but they call an offensive foul. And Bradley might have been in the circle. That might have been why they called the foul. And the referee signaling that I believe the foul was against Jamel Bradley. That's who it looked like. That would be the 7th team foul against the Javelinas.
They're confirming if the shot was in the basket.
And Brooks to try these free throws. Johnny Estelle said it was yelling 1-on-1, but I'm almost positive this is a 2-shot foul, and it certainly looks like it based on the body language of the players. First free throw is no good. Brooks' his second one doesn't go. Rebound right to Stevenson. So Tamuk still trailing by only 2. Thomas guarded by Jordan. Now Jacoby Harris with it. Back to Thomas. Mouton coming into the corner to get it. Guarded closely by Eisenhower. Driving into Stevenson, who dunks over Radjicic. A ferocious two-handed jam by the senior. And we're tied at 42. Pass for Jordan, almost lost it out of bounds, but keeps it in play. Eisenhower, now Jordan comes to get it. Jordan driving it, has it blocked by Bradley. Out of bounds off the Javelinas, 7 to shoot. And with 7:49 to play, we will go to immediate timeout. All tied at 42. This is Javelina basketball on the Javelina Sports Network. We'll be right back. all tied at 42. St. Mary's getting rid of inbound. Now the Javelinas racing back on defense. Harris, Stevenson, Mouton, Thomas, and Bradley out to defend this inbounds pass with 7 seconds on the shot clock. Jordan into Radjicic on the right block. Good defense by Stevenson. It rolls up to Jordan. Throws up a wild three that catches nothing. Layup at the buzzer, no good. And the shot clock violation called against St. Mary's. And so now the Javelinas looking to take the lead. Their last lead came at 35-33 at the 12-13 mark in the second half. Mouton. Stevenson up top. Harris on the far side. Driving in underneath to Bradley, who tries to lay it up. Stevenson with the tip, it won't go. Bradley tips it again. It comes to Harris, who throws it out. Thomas a three. Good! And Rashawn Thomas has 8 points. That's a game high for the Javelinas. Their second made triple of the night. And it couldn't have come at a better time. Peterson wants to get it in, left for Brooks. Now Radjicic on Stevenson. Radjicic has tried to work on Stevenson all night. Hook shot no good. Stevenson showing you why he's one of the best defenders in the Lone Star Conference. Would not let Radjicic get close enough for an easy layup. Neither team in this half has led by more than 4 points. Thomas. Mouton. Bradley. Backing down Peterson. Double team by Radjicic. Fadeaway is good. Pretty jumper by Jamel Bradley. He's got 5 points. And Coach Johnny Estelle asking for support from the fans here at the Spec. Both teams in the bonus right now. Peterson into Radjicic. A whistle. I think they're going to get this for goaltending, but the basket was good anyway. And Stevenson hearing an earful from Coach Johnny Estelle. But as it is, we have a 3-point game, a timeout for St. Mary's with the 5:54 mark. We'll take another break. This is the Javelina Sports Network. You're watching Texas A&M Kingsville basketball. Javelina basketball with a 47-44 lead. Three players in double figures for St. Mary's. Radjicic with 12 points, that leads all players for Tamuk. Rashawn Thomas has a team high 8 points. Bradley, Mouton. To Thomas, who just hit the big three. Rashawn Thomas is on Mouton, left wide open, drives in, left for Stevenson. Wide open, Harris will try a triple. No good. Bradley skies for the board. Wants to go right back up, but he traveled. And I think Bradley just got a little bit too excited there. Lost his composure for a minute. Caleb Jordan with St. Mary's trailing by 3. Brooks left for Houston, back in the game with 4 fouls. Jordan, back to Houston. Driving in, pulls up for a fadeaway off the side of the backboard, and Stevenson says, I'm not even getting near that, just watches it bounce out of bounds. Javelina basketball again. Temuxtebe trying to draw charges on Houston for the rest of this game. And also making him play defense. He's guarding Mouton right now. Bradley giving it up to Thomas. Harris. Only 5 to shoot. Harris with a fadeaway. An air ball. Radjicic the board. Jordan moving up quickly as St. Mary's trying to erase this small deficit. Peterson into Houston. Shot no good, but he does draw the foul on Stevenson. That will be Stevenson's 4th. And each team has 8. Houston, a 92% foul shooter, to the free throw line for the 3rd time tonight. First one is good by Houston to give him 7 points on the night. Houston has probably been this team's most important player, at least early in the season. Second free throw good as well. It's a 1-point game. He had 26 against Regis, played 36 minutes against Mines. The fouls have limited him tonight, but he did play all 20 minutes in the first half of this one. Into Stevenson. Clear out now, Mouton. With Brooks guarding him. Back into Stevenson. Harris will drive in, up and under off the backboard. Pretty layup by Jacoby Harris. 9 points for him. Left wide open and making it count is Caleb Jordan. And we're tied at 49. Thomas on Jordan, Harris, Bradley. Mouton with 9 to shoot. In on Peterson, layup not strong enough. Stevenson tried a putback jam that didn't go. And now the Rattlers with a chance to take the lead. Ball tipped by Thomas. It goes out of bounds. The possession will restart with 21 seconds to shoot. And there is the last media timeout of the night. 3:18 to play. We're tied at 49. This is a good one in the Javelina's home opener this season. We'll be right back on the Javelina Sports Network in the second half of a tie game. Don't go anywhere. Jordan batting it to Houston. Mouton playing defense on the junior. Houston thinking about driving, only 7 to shoot. Taken away by Mouton, racing ahead of the pack. Peterson playing defense, layup, good, and a foul. And both teams have been making clutch shots down the stretch. And that's the fourth on Peterson. 3 players with 4 fouls for St. Mary's. Only 2 of them are on the floor. McCullough, the one who's on the bench. Free throw no good. And Radjicic the rebound. And now Jordan will bring it up. We have under 3 minutes to play. Peterson. Jordan. Brooks left wide open. Can't make the Javelinas pay. And a foul on Robert Stevenson. And that'll be 5. My mistake. That must be number 4. The scoreboard says 4. I might have gotten a little ahead of myself. So Stevenson with one more. A 1-and-1 here for Radjicic. Came into this game shooting at 50%. First one is good. He is 5 of 5 this evening from the charity stripe. And he has 13 points tonight. Second one is good. And he has a game-high 14 now. Even at 51. This is the 13th tie we've had tonight. Thomas, Bradley, shoving in on Brooks. Pass stolen, but stepping out of bounds was Houston. Or I believe actually they might have been able to. They might have granted St. Mary's a timeout. We might have an officials conference here trying to figure out what the call is. As is, there's 2:13 on the clock. And it will be Temuque basketball in a tie game. Will Shire comes in for Robert Stevenson. With Stevenson having 4 fouls, the still probably wants to save him for some late defense. Bradley a triple. That one's way too strong and sails right to Houston. Jordan gets a pick by Radjicic. Peterson, who has 4 fouls. Pass to Radjicic working on Shire. Hook shot good. And that's where Temuque misses Stevenson. Radjicic now with 16. St. Mary's ahead by 2. Thomas has that pass kicked away by Houston. 21 seconds to shoot. And Stevenson will come in for Bradley. Still not afraid to have the freshman from Veterans Memorial High School, Will Shire, on the floor in crunch time. Thomas throws it almost to no one in particular, but Harris within range to grab it. Javelinas have led for 18 minutes and 21 seconds. St. Mary's for 7:23. 5 to shoot. 4. Thomas, Harris, left alone. No good. Rebound is grabbed by Jordan. Pass to Peterson. Harris trying for a sneaky steal. 70 seconds left in regulation in a 2-point game. St. Mary's will call timeout. And a 30-second timeout called by St. Mary's. With 1:08 to play, they lead by 2. We've had 13 ties and 8 lead changes in this game. The Highlanders have led for more than twice as much time on the clock than their opponents have. But St. Mary's now with a 53-51 edge. The Rattlers have not led by more than 3 points at any time in this game. They've also turned it over 10 more times than their hosts have. And the Hogs have ranked up 26 points courtesy of their bench. But St. Mary's shooting a higher percentage, and they've been winning their battle on the glass all night, 43-32. And the Javelinas now needing a stop. And credit to Marquez Houston. He's been on the floor since about the 8-minute mark with 4 fouls, and he has not picked up his 5th. And Dimitri Peterson also playing now with 4 fouls. Same for the Javelinas with Robert Stevenson. But now Tamuk needs Stevenson's aggressive defense to try and get a stop. Because points have been tough to come by in this game. Tamuk does not want to fall behind by 2 possessions. Mouton guards the inbound to throw into the backcourt for Jordan. Radjic sets the pick. We are under a minute. Peterson into Radjic on Stevenson. Hook shot good. Touched softly off the back iron. He has 18. Tamuk now in hurry-up mode. They need a bucket. Thomas wants a pick from Stevenson, trying to tell Stevenson where to go. Pass right into the hands of Brooks. And Coach Johnny Estelle directing his man to foul with 36 on the clock. And that's foul number 2 on Thomas, the 10th committed by the Javelinas. Chauncey Thomas will come back in. And that possession for the Javelinas looked like it was going poorly from the start. It seemed like Thomas and Stevenson couldn't get on the same page as far as what Thomas wanted Stevenson to do. And then Thomas got in the paint and literally just passed it to nobody in a Javelina uniform. First free throw good. 5-point lead for St. Mary's. Second free throw good as well. And St. Mary's ahead by 6. Thomas racing ahead quickly, trying in for a wild layup. No good. Stevenson with a putback, and Estelle calls his timeout with 29.1 to play. And looking at the replay, that turnover by Thomas, Shire was in the basket on the block on the far side, but Brooks had position, and there was also Peterson who was standing in the circle. There was just no place for that pass to go for it to find a teammate. So now St. Mary's with a 4-point lead. Javelinas are going to have to keep fouling here with the shot clock turned off. Pass inbounded. Tamuk wanted a whistle. Now across half court, Peterson. And Peterson is fouled. Two shots for Dimitri Peterson. This is his first trip to the free throw line tonight. 2 shots, first one no good. 21 seconds to play. Shire in for Dyer. And Brooks in for McCullough. And now Alex Mills replaces Jacoby Harris. Free throw good. So 1 of 2 from Peterson. Dubuque needs a quick bucket. Thomas. Left side, Shire. Now Thomas will try a 3. That's an air ball. Stevenson puts it back and draws a foul with 8.6 to play. Now Dyer and Harris come back in. Javelinas have to have this free throw. Stevenson misses it. Rebound comes to Houston. And the Javelinas quickly have to foul. And with 7 seconds to play, that might end up being the ball game. Houston, a 92% foul shooter. Javelinas had to have that free throw by Stevenson. It's a tall task to ask that of a player who has trouble at the free throw line. And I don't think anyone knew that Dubuque needed that free throw more than Robert Stevenson. But of course, if Houston makes the second free throw, which I would instruct him to miss it, well, he makes it anyway, it probably would not have mattered if Dubuque would have had Houston at the free throw line. Thomas has the layup blocked, and that will be the ball game. St. Mary's comes in and earns a 5-point win, 60-55. And a difficult loss for the Javelinas in their home opener. But it ended up being a close and exciting game. The Rattlers made the plays in crunch time that they had to make in order to earn the victory. And one of the big issues, the two big issues the Hawks are going to look back on in this game, in such a close game where 3 points, 3-pointers, and free throws. The Hawks just 2 of 21 from beyond the arc in this game. And from the free throw line, they were 11 of 21. St. Mary's, by contrast, shot at 78%. They were 18 of 23. St. Mary's also out-rebounded the Javelinas 45-34. Neither team led by double figures at any time. The largest lead was 7 by the Javelinas, and that came very early in the first half. Now remember, the next time we will be on the air is on next Tuesday. The women will play at 5:30. The men will play half an hour after that game ends, and then we will have it all for you on the Javelinas Sports Network a week from yesterday, 6 days from now. Javelina basketball against Texas A&M International. My name is Mark Gansera. Thank you for tuning in to the Javelina Sports Network for tonight's broadcast. We will see you on Tuesday back here, same time, same place at 5:30. But until then, take care and have a good night, everybody.